Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, you can all hear me well. Now, if you've got problems with the audio, there is on the email that was sent through to all participants, there is a telephone number. If you can't hear, call the number, and I will cover that in the next slide. So hopefully you'll be able to see that. But first and foremost, thanks so much for you all. We're full house today, taking the time out of what is really a very stressful time for us all as we're running our own businesses and we're worried about health issues too. I'm going to cover really some key points that I have used historically in the business when you're up against tough times. As a brief background to us, Model Office is a RegTech, regulation technology. We allow firms like your good selves to benchmark where you believe you are against all the rules and regulations and self-audit. Our algorithm and artificial intelligence-driven system then picks out heat map dashboards to showcase where you really are, and most importantly, what you need to do next. And the big part of this is literally risk management and building a balanced scorecard for firms across the industry from a regulatory risk point of view. So we're going to cover some of the stuff that we've come across with Model Office over the last 3 years or so, but also I lived through SARS in Hong Kong in 2002-03. And I can give you some insight from the front line, if you like, on running a business. I was working for a multinational at the time, Towery Law, and I was running a wealth management team in Southeast Asia. So I'll cover some issues that you may find useful from that perspective. We're recording this session, so from that point of view, what we will do is effectively send out the recording after the session for you. Right, so let me try and move on to the next screen for you. For some reason, it's frozen. That's a good start. Okay. Start again. Sorry about this. Technology, don't you love it? So hopefully you can all see this, and we're going to move on. So here we go. This is just, if you can't hear us, just take a look at this, and hopefully you can read this audio mode. Click on that, telephone the number. There's a conference call ID, and hopefully you'll be able to hear us if you can't, or do it on your audio system through your computer. Now, we all know, that we are operating in a new normal now. Just a few months ago, the biggest risk we had to face with the Woodford Fund and pension transfers. The world has changed. People are getting sick. There is a disconnect between current behaviour in business and in our communities and the reality of the situation. People are, as I say, getting sick, and unfortunately, we will get far worse than that as this builds over the coming weeks. So I'm sorry if I sound tough, but having been through SARS, we had a similar issue, but COVID, unfortunately, is far more contagious. So we do need to look at self-distancing and self-isolation seriously. The key issue with this is our clients are going to be affected in the same way as we are. So we need to be mindful of all that. People are working from home. People have their children with them now as of next week or the weekend, and they'll have maybe other family members in and around the house. People will be losing their jobs. Their income will be going down. The market has tanked. Your income will be affected. So really what we need to ensure is that we've got strategy in place and we move into what we're calling survival mode in sobering times. And that really is about heeding advice that's out there. We'll talk about that in a little while. Looking at, the key issues, how we can help our clients in different ways, how we can help our staff in new ways, and really facing up to reality, because I'm afraid that there are IFAs that are going to go to the wall in the next 3 months because of all the issues that we'll talk about now. So we don't want it to be you. We want you to be financially robust and to employ all sorts of risk management strategies, which we'll talk about throughout this conference today, so that you are going to be in the best possible position going forward. I mean, there is good news in the sense that a lot of firms, like your good selves, have great client relationships. You've got reserves, you've got tools, techniques, and you've got robust professional practices. So we need to look at the good and be opportunist in this as well. So really, the other key to mention on this is that we still need to comply and compete. So the rules are the rules. The FCA aren't going away, although we'll talk about what they're up to at the moment with COVID. But we do need to comply. We need to ensure that we've got good client communications going, particularly through this time. We don't want any break in the trust that we've got. We need to ensure that we're continuing with our firm and staff professionalism, and we're meeting all the regulatory directives that are being thrown at us, day in, day out, month in, month out. So we've got a few new joiners. Thanks for joining. I'm recording all this, so you haven't missed anything. You saw my screen stick at the start, but hopefully now that won't happen as we go through. So let's take a look at risk management from the regulatory point of view, because that's really, obviously, regulatory risk is very important with the current situation, as well as we are now moving into survival mode, as we call it, on a war footing, if you like. And the FCA themselves consider risk by a combination of impact, which is probably a good way to look at where we are currently right now, the potential harm that can be caused by the COVID crisis, and then the probability, the likelihood of particular issues or events occurring. We need to scenario map now. We need to project, plan, and map out what is going on for us as a business, look at our tools, techniques, leveraging them from inside and outside the business to make sure that we've got the best fighting chance to get through this and come out the other side. The key issue with risk management is identifying the main risks to your firm as they arise, measuring the importance of the risk, mitigating them, and monitoring it on a constant basis. So technology can help with that, as we'll talk about that in a little while. There are significant benefits to risk management, and here what we're talking about really is some key points around improving organizational resilience to what is going on at the moment. This is unprecedented times, as I'm sure you're hearing a lot about regarding the news and so forth, but we really do need to lock down some really good strategic practices now in the business, so that we, as I say, have the best fighting chance to come through this and not only survive but thrive when this is abated. We need to look at what the resources are, and look at how we're allocating resources throughout the business, and look at the decision-making processes, making sure that all communications are clear, concise, fair, not misleading, so forth. Both inside and outside the business. And what's going to help with this, I'll be honest with you, as we've just gone through the senior manager certification regime, that will help, because you should have hopefully now mapped out things like the roles, responsibilities, who does what, knowing how people delegate and hand over, and making sure everything is evidence. If it isn't written down, it didn't happen, and so forth. Now, here's the agenda for today's conference call. Really what we're looking at is, first and foremost, is health issues, which we'll focus on. Very important, probably the most important thing here. Then we'll take a look at operations and what we can be looking at doing there, looking at what technology can do. Technology, employed well, is a great enabler platform for your business. And we'll talk about that and how you can outsource with that. Financial robustness. There's a lot of stuff now in the marketplace regarding what the government are doing. We need to take a look at that. We need to take a look at what else is going on, particularly with the financial services compensation scheme issues, and obviously the margins are being squeezed by FOS and so forth. So we need to take a look at all these issues. We also need to take a look at the regulatory issues around bad behaviour. Unfortunately, at times like this, you get lots of criminals out there, and we need to look at how we can protect our clients there. Relational risks, looking at how you're engaging your clients, and we finally got a pandemic plan for you, which you can take away and apply to your business straight away. Health is the most important thing. Please take care of your health, take care of your loved one's health, and take care of your clients' health first and foremost. I'm getting quite emotional when I'm saying this, because we went through this in SARS. We had one person in our office affected by SARS, and they nearly died. So at the end of the day, we've got to ensure that, self-distancing, self-isolation is taken seriously. There is a disconnect at the moment in this country. People aren't taking it seriously. There's still people out in pubs, still people out on the streets. Yes, you need to get out. I get that. Go for a walk, go for a run, keep your mental health in check, go and get supplies from supermarkets and so forth. But at the end of the day, we need to keep to the guidelines that are out there and the advice is out there. Public Health England, NHS, governments and local government guidelines are good places to go to. And also, guide your clients around that. Working smart is, as I've said, it's about self-isolation and self-distancing. Now, the title of this was, self-distancing doesn't mean self-isolation for business practices. And what we mean by that is if you are self-distancing, you are working from home, you are working smart, you've got people working there, you can still engage using virtual means, technology and so forth like we are today. Yes, you'll have your glitches and issues with technology. It's not magic, but it's a great enabler platform. You need to offer support at all times, be open, come at this with an open heart, don't close down, open up to everybody, and put yourself out there for others as much as you possibly can, and really focus on the vulnerable. There's a big push at the moment with the FCA on vulnerable clients. Well, let's open that up to our business. Let's open up to our staff. Let's make sure that their mental health is catered for, and we're doing what we can. So it's doing the right thing at all times, self-checking, putting health first. Business operations, well, there's lots of stuff that we can look at here from a risk management point of view. The key issue is what Model Office does is builds up what we call a balanced scorecard for organizations. And that's across, all things such as the compliance element, your client and stakeholder engagement, how you're setting up with your research and development processes around your centralized investment proposition and we call that your promise, and your service propositions and your research and technology propositions. Also, how you've got your systems and controls in place, and also what you're doing regarding your people management, your HR responsibilities in your business. So it's building that across all the issues. We've also got, as you can see from this slide, liquidity issues. You've got the market tanking at the moment. We've got all sorts of stuff here that we need to factor in. It's important not to panic. It's important to stay calm and come at this with a rational risk management strategy approach. We need to take a look at boards and committees. What boards, what committees, even if you're a sole trader, how you're communicating with people in and outside your business is important. Using virtual technology, we'll talk about in a minute how that can help. Making sure everything is evidence and you're communicating in a clear, fair, not misleading manner. The SMCR, as I say, will help you with this if you've mapped out the roles and responsibilities. Working smart, as we talked about, really making sure that if you've got home workers now, that everybody's got the right equipment, software, hardware, that they've got routines in place. If they haven't, then you're guiding them around how to work smart at home, which we'll talk about in a little while. And then outsourcing is a really big strategic point now. You can look at what sources are out there. Paraplanners. There was Richard Allen, who runs Powwow and the Paraplanners, the MD. He put a great article on Professional Advisor recently about the fact that they're coming together as a community and helping advisors and helping themselves. And that's something that we need to be mindful of. Looking at what centralized investment proposition resources are out there, professional management services and so forth. If you've got NEDs, non-exec directors, consultants, how can you leverage their skill sets? And also finally technology, which we'll talk about in a minute. So role mapping, this is just to give you an example of how we've done it at Model Office. We've got a whole heap of resources around senior management certification regime, which you can access through our system. But the key issue with this is knowing who does what and how people delegate and hand over, and making sure everything is evidenced from an ongoing basis. This will help you where if you've got people working smart at home and you can actually map out what they should be doing, when they should be doing it, and everyone's coming together as a virtual team. Technology. So obviously we're in the technology business, and technology, as I say, it's not magic, it's not a panacea, but it can help. It can be a great enabler platform for you to get through this time. We need to focus now on the next 3 months. Really, it's very hard focus now on what's immediately in front of us. And so from that point of view, what I would recommend is that you take a look at technology from a joined up approach. How can you employ technology that works all together? So, VoIP and telephone systems can help with that, which can incorporate things like conference calls with your clients, webinar calls with your clients. So what we're talking about there is obviously if you're using, for example, the latest, if you're using Office 365, they have E3, you can upgrade to that, which involves a whole lot more about getting teams together, getting your business together, getting project management together, how to manage risk within that technology platform. You've got things like the webinars, the Zoom, we use Join.me, Skype, you've got client portals if you're using practice management solutions that offer it, or third parties that offer it to engage your clients further. So client communications can be enhanced by this. So don't discount technology. I'm sure a lot of you use it very well anyway. Cash flow modeling is a good example, attitude to risk and so forth. But really it's happening engagement. How can you use technology now to ensure that everybody's communicating within the business, everybody is on the same page, and your clients are kept close? Financial robustness, I'll spend a bit of time on this. Really what we're talking about here is the cash flow stress on your business. Now, again, I have to say, unfortunately, in the next 3 months, businesses are going to go bust. They already are, in the hospitality sector in particular. But unfortunately, it's going to affect our side of the industry. And IFAs, some of them, unfortunately, will have to close. So from that point of view, you need to be really advising yourselves. You do great jobs for your clients, but look at yourselves. Look at your balance sheets. Look at, how you are setting up your charging structures. Ad valorem is a problem because markets have tanked, and therefore that will affect and that will push through to your income streams in the next month or so. So we need to be looking at how, if at all, we can change, that and maybe move some clients onto a direct fee basis to manage the risks. You need to be focused on, obviously, the key issues. There's lots of stuff in the press at the moment. Two people I massively respect in this industry, Keith Richards, the PFS chief exec, and Carl Lamb, who's the chartered planner and director of Smith and Pinching, were on the media recently talking about what can be done around the capital adequacy rules, looking at the financial service compensation scheme, 532 million at the moment. Deloitte have just come in there, I understand, to handle claims in that lifeboat fund. But, is there stuff that we can do around this? And can we lobby, for example, our professional bodies to do stuff around this? Well, that's something that you can, think about in your business. We also need to focus on, obviously the FOS has increased the claims limit from 150 to 350,000, and that's put a pressure on PI insurance. And there's all sorts of hard markets issues with PI pension transfers, but we need to be putting pressure on these people. Insurance is a big issue at the moment. The other thing to look at as well is what the government are doing. They've stepped up from what they did at the budget. The Chancellor has now brought in new, as you can see from this slide, for example, small business grants have gone from 3K to 10K. That can actually be applicable to you as a business. Look at it, see what, probably next week is probably the best time to look at all this, and look at how you can gain grants if you need it, or loans if you need it to stay afloat over the next 3 months. I can't emphasize this. More importantly, you need to be looking at this. Business insurance, pandemics normally are an add-on feature. Take a look. You might have actually included it. If you haven't, then it's a conversation for you to have with your insurance. And business rates, we've got, them reprieved over a 12-month period. See if that affects you or not. Mortgage premiums for you and your clients, there's a potential 3 months. Buy-to-lets have also come into that as well. So we've got that going on. Take a look at it next week. Statutory sick pay, if you're involved in that, there's a potential refund. So there's all sorts of stuff the government are doing and bringing through, because this is, as I say, unprecedented times. Take a look at it. Be very mindful of the market tanking. If you're very heavily involved and reliant on ad valorem charging, then you need to be really focused on that now and looking at how that's going to affect your business. And also, know your key financial metrics across revenues. Now, I'm going to very briefly show you what we can do here for you. What we're doing at Model Office, what we have is a financial stress test. And we're making this free for all firms as of today. So we'll just take the chatbot off here. But just very briefly, this gives you an idea. You can plug in on a high-level view of your annual turnover, recurring revenues, trail commissions, looking at gross profit, EBITDA, all the way through to putting in salaries, how many advisors you have, appointed reps, paraplanners and so forth, looking at total assets under management. You then get your results, and immediately you're going to get a heat map dashboard, which will show you which areas you need to focus on now. We are making this completely free for all industry on our light fettered version of Model Officer. And if you want this, let us know. I'll put the email at the end so you can take a look at it. And at the end of the day, this may help give you an idea of the financial strength and robustness of your business. Regulatory risk, regulations aren't going to go away, but we're seeing the FCA step up to the plate as well. The FCA are going to be very focused on your business continuity plans, making sure that they are robust. Yes, we know this is a challenge to your staff and clients, particularly the vulnerable amongst us in the community. So we need to really focus on the senior managers in the business, looking at their responsibilities and how they're managing the business continuity and risks. And from that perspective, it really is, roles and responsibility are really at the forefront of all this. Client services and advice. Obviously, I hate to mention this, but we need to act fairly, honestly, professionally with clients' best interests first. I know you will. You do great work. I've been in your shoes. I've been a wealth manager and I've been a financial advisor. Communications, clear, fair, not misleading. We've talked about that. Segment your clients based on their needs. If you haven't done it already, do it now. It's very important for product governance, PROD, that old chestnut. But I've got a slide on that a bit later. Access to cash. Can your clients access cash at this moment in time? They may be losing their jobs. Their incomes might be going down and so forth. And it applies to you as a business, as I talked about. Complaints not dealt with within 8 weeks. Unfortunately, at times like this, clients may point fingers, and therefore we need to be mindful of that too. And manage financial resilience and liquidity. Report any issues that you've got to the FCA immediately. This is a slide just covering 5 conduct risk questions, which may help you implement a very quick win for risk management in your business. Here, what we've got: identifying the risks, who it has the right roles, responsibilities, what the internal comms are, and so forth. You've then got moved through to individuals' accountability within the business, who does what, who's accountable for what. Map it out if you haven't done it already. Mechanisms to improve risk management. We talked about RegTech. We talked about technology, training and development, making sure you've got your finger on the pulse with that. Training and competence over the next year, certainly to the end of this year, is still very important with the SMCR around certification and conduct rules. So we need to keep that mindful of that. Strategic oversight, investment committee and board, I've talked about. And then finally, assessing activities that can undermine all the good work that you're doing, and that could be, rogue clients. It could be, scams out there. Well, I've already been hit as a business by a lot of scammers who are saying, who are trying to offer me, bridging loans, inverted commas. There's lots of, charlatans out there, and we need to be mindful of that, unfortunately. Bad behaviour, there you go. So this is the next slide. And on the bad behaviour front, really, what we just need to ensure is that mis-selling is really front and foremost in our minds. In challenging times, it tends to rear up, and we just need to ensure that you've got the right systems and controls in place to monitor that and flag that up. So we've got all sorts of things like regarding GDPR, for example. I'm a local district councillor. We've got lots of well-intentioned residents associations who are handing out all their details to residents in the community. Phone numbers, emails, and so forth, flies in the face of GDPR. And as soon as people become trusting in that environment, that's where the scammers and the criminals will go in. So we need to be mindful of this going forward. Now we're going to move on to the areas that really you will know better than anything, I think, having been in your shoes. You do great jobs with clients. You've got high relationship capital, we call it, with clients. But we need to be mindful of what is going on with our clients from an objective and subjective point of view. This slide really showcases what's going on for clients underneath the iceberg, stuff that we need to understand about their values, their passion, how they've been brought up to act in times of challenge, their attitudes, their beliefs, their needs and wants. We need to really assess that in the soft skill environment far more than ever before. You guys are well placed to do that. But the key issue with this, if firms miss that and miss, the soft stuff and the emotional intelligence and the empathy and so forth, that will create problems because clients will point fingers. Clients are going to be distressed at this moment in time and challenged. So we need to put our arms around them, reassure them. There's lots of opportunities here, but there are consequences of where we are. Low annuity rates are already hitting. Cash-in pensions are under pressure. We've got the lowest interest rates for generations now, which has just been it's been addressed by the Bank of England. We're going to have quantitative easing come back, people-based quantitative easing, where we're going to have the money pushed back into the markets to help the government manage all this that we talked about, all those measures that they're taking. Currency and market turmoil. Well, we all know the pound is now the weakest it's been since 1983, I think. And then we've got a crisis in confidence, potentially. I don't think we quite have it now. And this is where you can act and put in the opportunities. You can talk about the value of planning and the advice that you give. People will really, really value this now. A lot of you, I know, practice coaching, and that is really important. You've got the diversification, quality and value driven of your KIPs, your professional portfolios, all that research, good work that you've done on the research and development of your centralized investment propositions, really important. Professional services, you may, offer services such, as will planning, or tie up with accountancy firms on tax planning and so forth. Put that front and center. Look at areas of protection now. Protection is front and center now, obviously, with what's going on. So we need to take a look at insurance issues. But the most important thing is you are best placed, probably the better than anybody in our industry, regarding reassurance and keeping your clients close. From that point of view. So as we move forward, it's stuck again. I'm sorry about this, but I just want to take a look at this area here where we are focused on timing versus time in the market. This old chestnut, you may say, well, it's still important to look at, particularly with clients where we are at the moment. Yes, we've had a market crash. Markets are tanking, but at the end of the day, they will come back. It's the very nature of the beast. So this was a chart put up by, again, someone I respect immensely in the industry, the Clifton Asset Management CEO, Anthony Carty. And this really looks at, overview of what's happened in the markets over time, and markets will come back. We need to be mindful now of the 10% MiFID drop rule. Unfortunately, that's going to affect us. And the idea with that then is that you can communicate with your clients in what's called a durable medium, emails, as long as they've got it as evidence for what you're saying. It's all about COB 16A. But the most important thing is informing clients, keeping them close at all times. We've also got the issue that this is a great slide. It's an old slide, but I always use it in times like this, where clients will focus on what's happening here and now. They only focus on what we call the anxiety zone. Markets have done well over 12 years or more, no nominal losses in these MSC World Index funds. But the key issue is that clients will only focus on what's on the red, what's going on now, and that's where your reassurance will come in. The final thing I want to mention on client relationship risk is segment your clients. You should be doing this anyway with product governance. But at the end of the day, this is an example of doing it through your client needs and their behaviors. So looking at, grouping your clients into their behaviors, self-directed, validators, delegators, avoiders. We all know that we've all got them. People react in different ways. People may jump around in their behavior now when they feel at risk and are challenged and stressed and anxious. So really, it's looking at what services you offer, how can you enhance those services, and how you're going to communicate with them to ensure that they're going to get that reassurance going forward. So what is the optimum model here? Well, I'll be honest with you, carry on doing what you're doing. You do a great job for your clients. Financial planning, I know, and advice and coaching and guidance is right at the center, front and center of what you do. Try and enhance that if you can using technology, using all the stuff that we talked about regarding VoIP, phoning, you've got the conference calling, you can look at systems like Microsoft E3 that can bring everything together in one place, looking at, outsourcing, advice, investment management, power planners, how they can all help, and looking at professional services as well, auxiliary services to help your clients out, and also what, technology for example, from a compliance and support service point of view can help you. So here we are at the final kind of couple of slides. I'm just going to look at this as an overview, but what we've got here is 9 key areas that we've put together. What we're going to do for you, I'm actually starting a industry technology help group with some pretty pretty well-known industry practitioners in the marketplace from a technology point of view. But the key issue with this is that what we're going to do is turn this into a flyer for you, and we'll send this out. Now, what I will say is that if you like what we're doing, you're seeing value in what we're doing here from this checklist and also from this webinar, please send it out and share it. We just need to get the reach going now, and to ensure that firms are acting and they're not getting complacent and they're not sticking their head in the sand. So really this looks at, impact factored in the business strategy, roles, responsibilities we talked about, looking at investment decisions and capital requirements in the business are in the best possible shape. Client communication plan, employer triage strategy, encourage your clients to think about what is it that's important to them at the moment before engaging with you. Getting them to self-triage will help save time. And also, advisors can then contact their clients and advise, with a pre-qualified approach. What we've then got is, as I talked about, the technology, the Skypes, the Zooms, the Join.me's, running online reviews, using client portals, cash flow modeling. If you use robo-advice, this may help at this time. Develop content-led syndication. So put some thought leadership out there. Social media, blogs, opinion pieces, videos, really important. People react really well with videos when they can see people. You might want to do this for your clients instead of newsletters, or adding onto your client newsletters. Assess and understand your firm's client's market exposure. Obviously, hold regular board and investment committees. Understand impact on your business insurance, your business rates, and assess the government support that's out there, because it's there. Work smart with staff working from home and develop shifts if you're keeping the business ticking over from a skeleton point of view, which is what we did in Hong Kong. Making sure personal interaction with staff is self-distancing, more than 2 meters, 6 feet away from each other, and use webinar tech to hold the team together. And finally, but not least, if you're using consultants and non-exec directors, if they're employed, then you need to assess the risk there, and if they on-site on other clients' premises, then they may have to self-isolate before coming to you if that's an at-risk premise. So there's all sorts of things that we can look at from that point of view there. Who cares wins, everybody. At the end of the day, you're on this webinar this morning, you care, and I know you care, and I know you care about your clients. We care about you and your business, which is why we're putting out the financial stress test for you. But the key issue is that we just need to ensure that we're really stepping up now within our businesses. We're realizing this is a major challenge now that we need to really step up to, and we have the resources to do that. Focus, concentrate in the next 3 months. We will get through this together. Stay safe. Email us on that email address there. Send out this webinar. It's recorded, and we'll send it over to you to whoever else that you think may benefit from it. If you want to use our free financial stress test tool, let us know. Email us, and we will send that out to you immediately. I want to wish you all the best over the next few weeks and months. It will be trying times. It's going to get worse before it gets better, but there is resource out there. Come together as a community and support each other, and we will get through this. Thanks so much for your time, and appreciate you taking the time. And as I say, I'll send this webinar out to you once it's up and loaded onto our RegTech channel. Take care.